Hey team. Um, you have likely already heard this in class. That said, whenever I sort of cover content points in class, I do like to have some sort of video trace of it. So that is this. If you would like an even more detailed discussion of why is ethics not like ice cream, take a look at the reading. It's an optional reading, but it's also in the ethics playlist. All right, let's get started here. Why is ethics not like ice cream? Let's unpack that. Okay, what does ethical philosophy assume, and how does it operate? Ethical philosophy, as seen in the frameworks that we will learn, we're going to look at four, and there is a fifth one that will be optional. It rests on a judgment of human nature. Humans are by nature what? Think of that word in your mind. Good. Humans tend to support one another. Some of you might have considered humans are prone to mistakes. Humans, maybe pushing that even further, tend toward evil ends. What are these beliefs about humans? Because this will really serve as our foundation for the different frameworks. And as different frameworks attempt to figure out what is right, a real foundation for that is figuring out what are the tendencies, what is the nature of humans, first of all. Additionally, ethical philosophy operates on reason or logical argumentation based upon premises and conclusions. Reason is in all caps there because reason is not like preference, okay? Like, what is your favorite ice cream? That is a preference, all right? If so-and-so loves snake oil ice cream, okay, that's weird. But it's okay because it's their preference, all right? An equally disgusting thing. What if we sort of move this away from ice cream and into a realm of how we treat one another? What if the same person that likes snake oil ice cream also likes to torture babies? Okay? We would find that repugnant and unacceptable. All right? So for things like ice cream preferences, it works. And these sort of ethical scenarios and dilemmas, we rely on ethical frameworks, not preferences. Okay? More on that again in the reading. I sort of draw the examples from the reading, and they elaborate more on that. So ethics is not ice cream. It is not our preference. There is out there a correct answer and a right way, and we rely on these frameworks to sort of unpack that and figure out what that right thing to do is. Okay, why study ethics? It's a way of thinking about moral principles that govern human behavior. Studying ethics allows us to be prepared for complex situations that arrive in life when you have to decide what is the right thing to do. And not really in clear circumstances, all right? Maybe you're passing your neighbor's house. You see a rock. It's just placed perfectly in the sidewalk and it fits your hand so nicely, and you really want to launch the rock at the house, all right? Yeah, it's probably not going to happen, right? You're not going to do that. But what if this house is dilapidated? It's not lived in. Every window is out except one, and you know you can hit it. And no one's around, right? It's a little bit muddier. Do you throw that rock? All right. What's the right thing to do? Another reason to study ethics is because we live in a diverse country and city. Studying ethics allows us to rise above or transcend our are sometimes limited ways of thinking. You know, these cultural codes and for some of us, religious beliefs strongly inform how we think and act. In the context of cultural collision or connectivity, as you sort of attempt to find common ground with people who are from different cultures, it can be pretty challenging, right? Reason is this really awesome shared space in which people from different cultures and upbringings can share, all right? And in that way, just really a beautiful thing. And if I push that further, we live in a multicultural democracy, right? In that shared space in which we can connect with people with different beliefs, can also be an innovative space, a space to reimagine what our world looks like and really create a better democracy in a better place, more equitable space. Okay, I'm going to sort of unpack what I just noted, but morality and ethics. So what are morals? It's a rule. You've inherited it from your family. It's culturally dictated, oftentimes informed by a faith, whether you really are practitioners of a faith or not. Very oftentimes these sort of things and practices that we do arrive from a faith. Like, so for instance, many of us might have had a Christmas tree but don't necessarily attend church or identify as Christian, right? So morals define right and wrong in ways that may or may not be rational. Okay, so ethics, thinking bigger here, is a guiding principle that affects your criteria for determining right and wrong. These principles will vary depending upon which ethical framework one uses. It depends on the framework, not the culture or tradition that you inherit. Okay, and ethics is a rational way to choose what's right or good for an individual or society. So what are the different ways that we've sort of explored our potential ways to figure out what is right? We have our preferences. That doesn't work. We have religion. Sometimes these are irrational. That doesn't always work. Reason is that third way and that successful way that ethics promotes as a way to figure out what is the right thing to do. So our definition here is ethics is the reason-guided study of what we morally ought to do. Okay, so what are the actions that we should do dictated by reason? Okay. A couple terms, and by the way, drawing attention to this idea of what we ought to do, all right, that's an operative term that we're going to unpack here. And in predictive versus prescriptive, okay? Okay, so let's take a look at what prescriptive and predictive mean here. First, predictive, and again, this is the one that we do not generally use in the context of ethical discussions. Peter should do well on the test. Why? Because he studied. Because he studied, therefore I predict, or in the future then, Peter will do well on the quiz. Another predictive example. Mary ought to qualify for state. Why? She's a stellar athlete. Past has demonstrated that Mary wins, period, and she will continue to do so. We're predicting that. Okay, let's use these terms in a predictive way, or a prescriptive way. Peter should not cheat on his quiz. Why? Because cheating is wrong. Or perhaps one of our frameworks, you'll make a case in which it's not so wrong. I don't know. But Peter should not cheat on the quiz. Or Mary ought to help her sick brother rather than go to the state tournament. Why? Because she loves her brother. Her brother doesn't have anyone else. Her brother needs Mary at this very moment. Okay? Prescriptive. What ought or should happen in the context of what an ethical framework would demand, right? What action it would demand. Okay, shifting gears. Doing what's legal is not always doing what's right. Okay, laws and morals clash. For example, the death penalty is legal in many states. However, there are many who are morally opposed to it. And if we extend that example, if I'm flying from one state that does not allow the death penalty, and I land in another state that does allow the death penalty, has all of a sudden the death penalty become morally permissible or impermissible? No. So legality does not equal morality. Another example, slavery was once a legalized institution in the United States. And through abolitionists, the institution was eliminated. Pushing this further, some will suggest that the legacy of slavery has continued today through legal channels. Does that make that form of slavery legally permissible? No. All right. So again, let's be really careful about associating legality with morality. Generally, morality will inform what's legal, and hopefully that's how it works. It's not always like that. In many countries, women are not educated. Does that mean it's morally impermissible to educate women? Certainly not. I think this is our last slide. Okay. Thank you, team.